Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are in chapter 14. There are 36 verses in Matthew. If you've not read the other chapters or seen any of my other videos, go check them out before I read this one. That way it'll make more sense. Let me open up this window real quick. It gets a little bit more light up in here. And I'm going to go ahead and start reading so you can follow along. You can just sit there and listen. And I'm reading out of the King James Version. At that time, Herod the treachery heard of the fame of Jesus, and said unto his servants, This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John, and bound him, and put him in prison for Herod's sake, his brother Philip's wife. For John said unto him, It is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodes danced before them, and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And I remember this one. So remember this part. Herod, he's the king, and obviously he likes this girl. So he says, "I will give you to whatever you want." But he had an oath to it. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John the Baptist's head in a charger. So he said, he made an oath. He's like, give me, I will give you whatever you want. And her mother said to her, tell him to give you the head of John the Baptist, because they didn't like him. So, and I don't even think he was in jail for a punishment, that they had to get his head taken off or anything, but that's what they wanted. And the king was sorry, nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat on him at meat, he commanded it to be given to her. So, he didn't want to do it, but one, he gave her an oath, and two, he didn't look like he didn't want to look like all the people, all of his people, that, the king's a liar and all that stuff, because he told her he would, do whatever she want and all that. And he sent and beheaded John in prison. And his head was brought in the charger and given it to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took up the body and buried it, and went and told Jesus. When Jesus heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities. And Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude, and was moved with the compassion toward them, and he healed their sick. And when he was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, and they may go into the village and buy themselves victuals. But Jesus said unto them, They need not to depart, give ye them to eat. And they say unto him, We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fish. So it's an incredible story. Anybody's watching this probably know. So, John the Baptist was beheaded and all that, and Jesus went to the desert land. All the people followed him and everything, and he was touched, by their compassion. So he healed some of them that were sick, and now they're sitting here, and instead of sending them home, he'd rather feed them. And they're like, well, we only have 2 loaves and 2 fish. And or he said, bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake, and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up the fragments, and remained 12 baskets full. So get this, I think it said that there were 5,000 people, or either way, there was a lot of people. 2 loaves and 2 bread ain't gonna really get you, or 2 loaves of bread and 2 fish. They ain't gonna get you, much anywhere. That'll feed a couple people, but they won't even give them food. But Jesus, blessed by God, had faith, and using his ability, was able to turn that, and it was able to spread over all the people. And not only that, is they had 12 basketfuls after they were done. So that's that's just incredible, and that's a miracle right there. And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. So 2 breads and 2 fish went out, not only 5,000 men, but he said also they also had children and wives. So just for instance, if all of them had at least only one child and a wife, add the wife, that's 10,000. Add the children, that's 15,000. But some might have multiple children, so you're talking about maybe like 25,000 or something. Maybe a little less, give or take, around there. And two loaves of bread and 2 fish, Jesus blessed, and had a miracle right there in front of him. And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went unto them walking on the sea. So everybody should know the story as well. So, Jesus told him to go on the boat and all that, and he went up and prayed in the mountain. And, there's a terrible storm, the waves, the ship was going all over the place, and Jesus came to him walking on water. This is where all that comes from. He's literally walking on water. Obviously, you can walk in water, but on top of it, that is incredible. And, it's crazy how he could do them things. And when the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of it, the ship, he walked on water to go to Jesus. So they were at first, troubled. They were like, whoa, it's a spirit and all that. They were freaking out. But then he was like, no, it's me. And Peter was like, okay, if it's you, then can I walk on that water to you? And he told him, yeah. And he got out of the ship and, was walking on water himself. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. So, the moment he took his eyes off him and began getting afraid and all that, worrying about the other stuff, he's beginning to sink. And, that can be used in your life. You're not physically going to sink or whatever. You're not physically going to be in water. But everybody, the moment you take your focus off Jesus, your focus off God, you take the time away and all that, you're going to start to sink and you're going to stay under there. So many of you need to pray right now that, Jesus will, stretch forth and pull you up out of that water. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, and the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, of the truth, thou art the Son of God. And when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of the place had knowledge of him, they sent out and took all the country round about, and brought unto him all that were deceased, and besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfect whole. So a lot has happened in only a short amount of verses. John the Baptist, which you remember I think was Jesus' cousin, unfortunately he was beheaded there. Jesus fed probably about 20,000 people, I'd imagine, with just 2 loaves and 2 fish, and he was walk on water and all of that. Miracles have happened in here, and miracles still happen today. I just want to thank everybody for watching. We're doing another video on Thursday. Just tell me your opinion on, or comment on your opinion about this chapter, and I'll see you guys on Thursday. Take it easy.